Since Keir Starmer joined international calls to recognise a Palestinian state, many pro-Israel voices have accused the Prime Minister of rewarding terrorism. Here's Matt Goodwin making a version of that argument on GB News.
What it is going to do effectively is incentivise not just Hamas and not just radical violent Islamist groups across the world who will now conclude that actually violence and terrorism gets you what you want. But here's what I'm really concerned about beyond all of that, which is enough to be concerned about, is it's also going to inspire every other would-be terrorist across Western nations and push them to the conclusion that if they use violence, if they use rape, if they use torture, if they use murder, that they will, in the end, be able to get what they want out of Western states.
Everything Matthew's just said could have been said about the State of Israel in 1949 when we recognised it. If you look at 1947, there was the Sergeants' Affair, very famous image, people can Google this at home, of two British sergeants who were hanged by the Irgun, a Zionist militia. One of their bodies was booby traps, and when they were cut down, another officer was quite badly injured. About 600 service personnel and police officers were killed in what was then called the Mandate of Palestine by Zionist militias, terrorist atrocities like the bombing of the King David Hotel.
Zionist terrorists were so off their rocker in the 1940s, they even proposed to assassinate Winston Churchill. Matter of record. Google it. Google it. Irgun, Churchill assassination. They killed, what was his name? Lord Moyne, government minister in Cairo. Lord Moyne. Of course, they killed a Swedish diplomat who was working on behalf of the UN. They killed hundreds, as I said in that clip, hundreds of police officers and service personnel in the Mandate Palestine. Now, if you were Israeli, even if you were a liberal Zionist, you might say, well, those people were treating Jewish settlers and Zionists very badly. So the Sergeants' Affair, where those two sergeants were hanged, that was after there was the execution of 3 members of the Irgun who were planning to carry out a terrorist attack. Right? So it was a tit-for-tat thing. The British were doing the exact same thing to the Arabs. You have the Arab uprising in the 1930s, I think it culminates in 36, the exact same thing. So this idea that the British were attacking Zionist settlers, etc., is simply not true. They were trying to maintain something resembling a rule of law in a place where the former state, the Ottoman Empire, had collapsed, and you had these competing claims on sovereignty. The most violent of which, by far, came from a small minority of Jewish settlers, particularly violent Zionists. And their terrorism worked. It worked. It succeeded. Here's another great fact. Alongside the Churchill one, which, my God, right? That is game, set, and match, you'd think. One of the first examples of a Spitfire, as in a Supermarine Spitfire, the iconic plane of the Second World War for the UK, one of the first examples of a Spitfire shooting down a Spitfire was Israeli pilots using Spitfires to shoot down British Spitfires. We ain't taught that, folks. We ain't taught what happened in the 1940s in the Mandate of Palestine. And we ain't taught that for a reason.